Good morning, everyone. Lewis Weber here for TPS training. This is the ESY version. What I want to do is spend a few minutes with you today and show you how easy it is to get started with this so that you can do TPS data collection for ESY. When you open up your TPS file, you may see this security warning up on top here. Always click on Enable. That will allow TPS to have all its full functions. You can still enter data without clicking on this, but you won't be able to do any graphing. So as a general rule, I just say go ahead and click on the Enable, and that will allow TPS to be fully functional. We're going to start here with the Setup To screen, and if for some reason you're not on that when you open up TPS, just go over to it. You might be on one of the other screens. So just click on the Setup To, and what we're going to do is enter in a student's name. Let's take our good friend Pete Moss, and then we might have up to 4 increasing target behaviors, and we can also have 4 decreasing target behaviors for Pete, and you'll see that each student is set up in a vertical slot like that. We have 12 students that we can put into one TPS file. So let's say for Pete Moss, we're going to be measuring his work completion. And maybe we'll do work quality also. And I'm just going to move this over just a bit so you can see it. Okay, and we don't need to have all 4 target behaviors, so these will be driven largely by the IEP. So that's one thing you might want to find out is what are the increasing targets and use those. They may be a continuation of what Pete has for the school year that he just finished. So continuity is an excellent idea. Find out what TPS had been measured and just continue with that. And same thing for the decreasing targets. Let's say verbal aggression, which is a pretty popular thing to be tracking, and maybe physical aggression. Okay, Pete is set up. And if we were to do another one, let's say Corey Ander. And maybe we would just have social skills with peers. And maybe for Corey, we have elopement. So you get the idea. With each of the students in your class, you just put in their name, their increasing target, and targets, and decreasing targets. Okay, so that part is set up. Let's go ahead and go to Setup. We've been on Setup To. Let's go to Setup. There's a couple of things I want to show you. And let's notice on the bottom right here, the slider. Let's take that all the way to the left. If you're there, you don't have to do it, but if you're not there, you'll miss that spot. So we take that slider and we're going to move that to the left. Now here you're going to list the academic blocks for your classroom. If everyone has the same academic blocks, you're going to enter them in the setup field here, or setup screen. If each student has different academic blocks, then you have to tailor each student's academic block separately. But most of the time for ESY, everyone has the same academic block. So you'll enter them here. And this is the default for all the students that you've entered in setup. So let's just say we'll do a schedule like arrival, and then math, and then ELA, and maybe we'll do ELA 1 and ELA 2. And then maybe we'll have lunch and recess and social studies. Okay, and I'll be the teacher today. Okay, so now we've set up the academic blocks for all students in your TPS file, which in this case is just 2 students. Well, we have a bunch of other stuff here. We're not going to use that for the summer. It does a lot of other things for PBIS, positive behavior intervention and support, but we're probably not going to do that for the summer here. So let's just stay over here. Function of behavior, that is something that we're also going to skip over for this session. We may go into another session, training session, but for right now we're just going to leave that. This is really these are two things I want to point out right now. You have the p-value and you have the maximum rating. Now if you're doing a 0 to 3 rating, you're going to want to change that to 3 and that to 3. If you're doing a 0 to 1 rating, then that would be a 1 and that would be a 1. I like to use as a default a 0 to 4 rating, so we make both of those 4. And I'm going to show you what the p-value is. You're going to want to use that. And this just tells TPS which of the 3 different kinds of rating systems are being used. 0 to 1, 0 to 3, or 0 to 4. Let's just take a 0 to 4. What does that mean? 4 would be very high, 3 would be high, 2 would be medium, 1 would be low, and 0 is, of course, 0. So that's how we're going to evaluate the student's behavior for each of those increasing and decreasing targets that we had listed here. Okay, so let's recap what we've done. Setup 2, we enter the student's name and their target behaviors. Setup, we put the academic blocks, and we're going to go ahead and leave both these values as 4, because in this example we're going to do a 0 to 4. Okay, let's go to the DS1, which is the datasheet 1, and that's the datasheet that I think would be best for you to use during ESY, so let's click on that. Now you notice here in the blue screen it says enter Monday's date of the school week, and here I put in June 3rd, and what that does is it gives us 4 data sheets for the week. And as we go to the right, we have Pete's data sheet, which is set up that way as a vertical page, and then Corey. And if we were to go to the right, we would see the other students, but we haven't entered any other students, so they're just blank right now. To show you real quick, and you can see we're using these academic blocks for all the students. And you'll see that for Pete, we have his 2 increasing targets, work completion and work quality, and the decreasing targets, verbal aggression and physical aggression. And the academic blocks have been entered in for Pete's data sheet. Now I want to show you something right quick here. You see where it says here, enter Y for dates to appear, and so there is a Y there, and we have the dates appearing on the data sheet. You might find it more convenient to take the dates off, and we'll put a no there. And what that does is it takes the dates off your data sheet, so you can just print a master copy and make photocopies of it, as opposed to having to print for each week the data sheet. It's your choice. It's nice to have the dates automatically supplied for you, but you get to decide. Now let me show you how to print these data sheets, because there's something you need to know. So File, Print, and you'll see when it comes up that we have data sheet number 1, and we have 12 data sheets down here. So this is Pete's data sheet. If you just went ahead and clicked on print, it would print all 12 data sheets, and we don't want that. We only have 2 students in the file, so we go to this middle tab and we say print page 1, and we'll also print through page 2, because that was Corey's data sheet. And then when we hit print, it'll just print those first 2 data sheets. If you don't put anything here, it will print all 12 data sheets. Okay. All right, let's get out of that. You've printed the data sheet. Now let's go to data entry. That was DS1. Data entry in the green here is where we'll be, well, guess what? Entering the data. So we're not going to be using the function of behavior column, so let's not worry about that. But here you can see we've entered has been automatically entered from the academic blocks that we listed here. They're showing up right here where it says academic blocks, and each day of the ESY is already entered for you. So you don't have to enter any dates for ESY, and it skips from Thursday to the following Monday. So you don't have to worry about any of that, which is really handy. Okay, let me show you something else that's really handy. You'll note that anytime we don't have a academic block listed for that increasing target behavior and for that decreasing target behavior, there's a bunch of X's that are put in. We don't have a third and fourth target here, so X's are put in all the way down here. That way when you enter data, you don't have to worry about cells that aren't being used. So the X's show you the cells that are not being used. Now let's say that Pete had a perfect day. So remember I had said before, when we go back to setup, this p-value, let's see what that does. If you put a p into the yellow box, what it does is it enters a perfect day for you automatically for all of the rows and for all of the columns where there's a target behavior. It enters a 4. Now if, for example, during math, Pete didn't do the work that he should have done, maybe he got a level 3 for his work completion and maybe a level 2 for his work quality, then you just override it. Now, of course, you can do it the other way too. We'll take the P off. We can enter any cells that are not perfect, which is to say that it doesn't have a 4. We can enter them here. And we can also enter any cells that don't have zeros, because that's what we're desiring over here for the decreasing targets. We'll enter those as well. So maybe there was some verbal aggression and maybe some physical aggression as well. So then when we go back to P in the yellow box, it fills in all the cells around it. And so that makes it very easy to enter your data very efficiently. Here is where you can put some notes, and each note corresponds to a row that goes back all the way here to the academic block. So if we wanted to say something like came late, and maybe over here we can say distracted by lawnmower, something like that. These are some extra things that we can put in. Here in this blue area we can write a general note, and I need some more pencils. Okay, the final section that I'm going to show you is the home note, and that is right here, home note D for daily. And what we'll do is click on that, and then the date has already been filled in for you for the first day of school, but if you want to do it for the next day of school, you would just type in 4 and so forth. So 6-3, we enter some data, and here's Pete's data sheet. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can see how it goes on. And this has data sheet for each of the 12 students in the class, and we have up to 4 increasing values here, which would be 4 increasing arrows, and over here we have decreasing arrows. So as you recall, Pete earned a 1 here and a 2 here, and so that's how that is reflected, and the notes also show up here. And so in the blue box you enter the date, and then you go to print it, and when you click on print, we have that same issue we had before, which is we have 12 possible students. So if we just wanted to print Pete's data sheet as a home note, that is, we would put page 1 through page 1, and it would print just Pete's page right here. Each student gets a page. If we wanted to get to another page, we can take a look at it there. We don't have any data for Corey, so there would be no reason to print that one yet, but we can print this and send it home to Pete. Okay, so that is a quick start, 14 minutes of TPS training. I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope you have a very good ESY summer. Thanks very much.